Okay, guys, it's July 7th, 2019 again. Wow. I'm actually going to go ahead with another live stream. And the reason why I'm doing this one, this is kind of weird tonight. It's been a long time since I've been able to do something. Now, I could easily go on the Southwest server right now, and I could run trains. Like it's 9:45. I'm going to bed in about an hour. So there's only limited time that I have. And as far as ideas, I've gone to the well so many times with different ideas. And I guess I've had some time tonight to brainstorm a lot of these ideas and maybe throw enough against the wall, maybe something will stick. I'm not too sure. Now, do I literally miss Run8? No, I already said that, and um, I'm very certain of that. But I know there are those out there that, if given the right environment, something may be able to happen. Um, so I posted this message over on the forum because what's happening is there's a couple of us who are basically putting emails back and forth. Um, I can just basically say, you can look at it here, Smiley and Scott, for example. Um, Smiley's putting up a Selkirk server. I believe Scott did this at one time too. And I couldn't, myself personally, I couldn't get into the Selkirk server. Or I shouldn't say get it, I could get on it, but I couldn't get myself into it. So I want to explain what I've always personally wanted to do. And this stems back to when the 24/7 server. Now the odd thing is I still have a spare computer, which is my son's, except he's going to be getting it I believe for his birthday again upstairs. So it's been sitting here collecting dust for about a year. And or I shouldn't say it's been sitting here, it's back at my place. It wasn't my old place, it wasn't doing anything. So I'm going to read this to you. This is over on the Railroad Transportation Simulator wikia.com. It says fandom.com, but whatever. So, things have been getting better. I finally got the live stream out as I posted earlier. As I said before, I'm open to ideas when it comes to Run8, but have found other programs more interesting than single player than Run8. For example, I could have easily gone on the Southwest server tonight, and I could run a train with them. But just running a train for the sake of running a train in such a big system and being part of it isn't intriguing enough, because for me, I can't explain it. There's a lot of AI trains, and then there's a lot of jockeying around to get those AI trains to work. But having locals running and AIs running at the same time as part of a big system, it takes a lot of manpower. And it just doesn't feel genuine to me anymore. Because these big servers, or I shouldn't say these big servers, these big quote unquote regions, are the ones that feel ingenuine. So what made Run8 great was the multiplayer environment and the sense of community in servers of similar interests. Since all the regions are either A, expanding, or B, dead, then it's difficult to match the growth to keep any of them interesting to my satisfaction or available time to commit. Now I'm pretty sure this opinion is the same. And it's not an issue with Run8. Run8's doing whatever they can, but I think it's a situation where I've actually probably a year ago, and they've actually they actually added some spawn points, and I thought that was it. I thought, oh yeah, get the spawn points in there, I can just run my own little single player world and I'll be fine. Well, it was so lonely, and AI became so much came so dead. It was like MSTS, an activity editor, except you were just running your own little show, and it's just so dead. And even when you're in single player, it gets old way too quickly. So those close with me in Run8 range from little to no interest to recently getting back and trying to make a go of it. The latter would be Smiley. Scott has had little or no interest, and he's like me. He's been getting outdoors a lot more, just getting away from the computer, and that's what I've been doing. What's happened is earlier this evening, for the first time in a long time, all of a sudden I had 4 hours. And normally I would spend that 4 hours going out rail fanning because I couldn't take my son. Now all of a sudden it's just like, whoa, I've been rail fanning with my son pretty much all week and all weekend. So we've been going like crazy. And then all of a sudden I had 4 hours tonight. And I was just like, I went through my YouTube. I was bored of that. I was just like, holy crap. I got too much time on my hands. This is the first time it's happened in a long time. And like I said, it was too bad I didn't get it earlier, because maybe I would have participated in the Southwest session tonight. But, them's the breaks. But do I want to do it on a regular basis on such a huge territory that only updates maybe a few hours a week? And that's basically what happens. It updates a few hours a week, and then a bunch of people have to keep it going and run the locals. The huge territories they're just not appealing to me. And they haven't been appealing to me for a very long time. So anyways, I know this is vague, and I'm open to ideas of being part of something that's compelling. So here's what I'd love to see. And this is what I think. This is something that I've been thinking about for a while in the back of my mind, but I really didn't see a way of getting this to happen. So I'd love to see a region or limited area. Now what I mean by that, when I say region or limited area, the region is what I'm talking about is somebody comes up with a region. And I heard that there was going to be new regions too, or not so much new routes. I don't need new routes to add on and all that other stuff. That's great, and I bought the latest add-on. To be honest, I haven't even run a train on Oak Creek. I haven't even run a train on SJVR. I bought the add-on. I never used it. I knew right. Once I started getting into the new update with the spawn points, and I'm just like to myself, I'm just like, oh my god, I'm just switching the locals by myself, and I'm dispatching my own AI trains. It was just like, no, it just doesn't feel as real as it gets. So I'd love to see a region or limited area go 24/7 on a demand basis. And what I mean by that is a 24/7 server that does have an on-demand basis. In other words, not running by a schedule per se, because it's very difficult. Everybody's schedules change. But something that can be run by the community, and not something that is overburdening, I guess is a word. I don't even know if that is a word. It's users. So the chance for people to potentially run together but still function when people can't meet. So in other words, here's, for example, my area that I live in Niagara, home to both Canadian National and Canadian Pacific. But in my case, I'm going to stick with CN. I'm just going to stick with CN for now. Only. And if the region included the CP line as well, that's great. But let's just assume, for an example, and even if it's a different territory, like say for example Mojave has UP and BNSF. I'm going along those lines, but let's just say CN. So I'll stick with CN only as it's close to me. It runs approximately half a dozen freights a day. Actually, it runs 4 trains. I can tell you the numbers: 330, 331, 421, and 422. Right now, there's a bunch of detours going through as well because of the Sarnia Tunnel, and that's going to go on for another month apparently because of the safety board's going to be looking into things apparently. So they do that along with 2 passengers, the Amtrak Maple Leaf. Now, running a passenger train on demand is probably not as realistic or appealing, but the freights to some or less degree, especially CP. CP is more of an on-demand system than CN is. CN's more of a schedule-like based system. They run call times that are very common. So it has a short line that there's also a short line that's also operational that interchanges with an intermediate yard that serves the region. Trains come and go and have actually live interchanges with Norfolk Southern at Fort Erie, which is just across from Buffalo, New York. CSX in Buffalo, CN actually goes over there. So NS comes over to Fort Erie, CN goes over to CSX in Buffalo, and CP interchanges at Southern Yard, which is right in the middle of the region and around Welland. So a majority of mainline trains run in the morning, with a handful of trains running later in the day to night. So if there was an on-demand system for such a region, I could see the potential in Run8. And what I mean by that is, say there's a limited number of people that like a smaller region, but want to be part of a smaller but yet system. So like the issue here lies in people participating in Run8 often have different times and interest levels worldwide. They also have several different routes and add-ons they may like. In other words, it's difficult to attract people to a limited scope operation that is part of what should be a bigger operation. So what I'm trying to explain is this. If you take Mojave sub, and that's the base route, and you limit it to just Mojave, there are going to be people who are going to want to run the hump at Barstow. Well, it doesn't work because you don't need to run a Barstow. If you're going to limit your operation to just Mojave and the locals and everything that's in and around them, you can have a server that's set up for it, but that server has to be available pretty much 24/7. I think it has to be either available 24/7 or it has to be available enough times that people can count on it. And I know people have run servers. I can certainly run a server at certain times, but it's difficult for me. Like my time is kind of scheduled and I can do it, but to necessarily run at the same time and non 24/7, I like the idea of having a 24/7 server, because what happens there is, say for example, I'm Eastern North America right now. It's 9:57 p.m. at night. So in this theory, you can treat this as, well, it's 9:57 Eastern at night, but typically in quote unquote my area, they like to run in the morning. So what you do is you set the clock, instead of 9:57 p.m. at night, you set it for 9:57 in the morning. So you set it for 9:57 in the morning. Okay, let's say right now. And you run it 24/7. And there's a half a dozen trains or whatever, and they're doing their thing. Some, whatever is happening, and then people get to come on the server. And no, you're not going to have the crazy dispatching. The only way you're going to get that is if you have a limited region, like one subdivision, where you have enough people that are involved that, again, on demand, you're going to have your busier times and your not so busier times. So then you might get a few people together. You have somebody who's a working dispatcher. It's really difficult to do it. It sounds feasible in a, like, to have somebody, but the realistic part is Eastern North America tends to be this is more based on North America, so that tends to have the most popular times. And they tend to be not during the day so much, but a lot of times it happens at prime time at night, because a lot of people are working day jobs. That's not always the case, though. I have, for example, I have another like Scott East Coast, and then you got the South Pacific, and now you're like, those are totally different regions. We're talking about, I don't know what time it is, honestly. I believe it is, if I was to guess, I would say it's about late morning over there right now. I could be wrong. I'm not too sure what it is at Smiley's time. I'm just trying to picture Australia, New Zealand, what time of day that is over there. And I've had a few people. There's been at least one person from Asia who's been on the server, the RTS server, and that's the kind of thing. So what works for somebody may not work for somebody else. So then what happens is, if you have a 24/7 server and jobs are available, then you keep those jobs up, you do what you can do, and then somebody else, lo and behold, you come back the next day, and guess what? The jobs are done. Because people are doing the jobs, or people are capable of doing the jobs. Or then you find out how many people like to do what, and then suddenly demand goes up and more things are happening, I guess. So you can actually up the demand based on the number of people or the number of crews that are available. Or in my case, like CN and CP, for example, all of a sudden you have CN and CP, you run one railroad, and then if things get really good and you have enough people, well, then you open it up to both railroads. Just like Mojave Sub. If you were to do something like that with the Mojave Sub, and the reason why I say Mojave Sub, I can see it for Selkirk Mohawk, but the problem with Selkirk Mohawk, it is probably unfortunately, it is the least popular route out there. And I know a lot of people don't, doing a server for Selkirk Mohawk could be appealing to some, especially those that are looking, who like running it. I'd be open to run on Selkirk Mohawk. It's just, I want to know what I'm running. If it's just running for the sake of running, then especially, like, what is it? What is it based on? Is it based on the real Selkirk Mohawk? Because if it's based on the real Selkirk Mohawk, there's multiple trains running a day. There's a hump in Selkirk. There's Syracuse. There's all kinds of locals. There's so much operation going on. Even Selkirk Mohawk is a huge operation. So you have basically 3 regions that are huge. I'm more into a limited scope. And it's very difficult to put a limited scope on a region and expect people to follow a limited scope, because you basically have to have it available to everybody. And when somebody has a route, they want to run all the add-ons they have, they want to run all the territory they have, etc. So it's very difficult to expect people to follow into some type of guideline. Especially, it's very difficult for somebody to put a 24/7 server up and expect other people to go by that. I've tried even running sessions in limited scope, and it's not necessarily the most popular. I mean, yeah, I've had people come on and do things, but it's very difficult to have people follow and want to do things when there's so much more of the route available. But anyways, I hope that makes some sense. It's very difficult for me to explain it. I can't even, I mean, I wish I could draw it out a little bit better, but that's about all I got to say. If you guys have any questions about that, or want to talk more about that, then we just reached midday. Oh, there we go. Midday on the midday on the east coast of Australia. Perfect. See, I was gonna say I was around. I was a pretty good guess. And the reason why I knew that was because I know it's close to Japan, and I watch like New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I knew that what happens is an 8 p.m. main event live pay-per-view occurs at 2 a.m. in the morning here. So I knew it was close to that time zone with Japan, because you're looking at, was it Western Pacific, below, southern hemisphere, obviously, of Asia. So that's kind of what I'm trying to get at as far as just my ideas. But that's what I can suggest. And I'd be more compelled, even if it's Selkirk Mohawk, I'd be okay with it. It's just I'm not too sure everybody else would. And if it wound up being just a huge, I don't know, if it wound up being a huge operation. At the same time, I wouldn't want it just to be a short line either. I'd love to see trains run a main line for 30 miles or whatever, but not necessarily just run AI either, just for the sake of running AI. And I know a lot of trains are capable of doing the AI. It's just, I don't know what I'm talking about sometimes, to be honest. Well, so, but anyways, that's my post over on the forum there. I'm probably gonna do some American Truck Simulator for the rest of the night, but I wanted to get that out there, try to paint a picture of what I'm thinking about, and actually I'll do American Truck Simulator tomorrow. But for those looking to run a server, or even a 24/7 server that's available, I mean it's a tough hill to get people interested, but with the right creativity and I'm open. Like I said, I'm open to try different things, but it's one of those things where just being part of a big system and running a train for 2 hours for the sake of running it 2 hours and not too sure what time of day it is, and it's very difficult, but something I'm familiar with and is limited in scope. I think it's more appealing to me, but there's very little of that out there. And I'm all for the Southwest server. I like the Southwest server. It's such a big system, and 3 hours goes by. Even the Southeast server, they do a lot of local switching and stuff like that, but they're part of a big system. And I would love to see something smaller that I would feel more part of a smaller community. A small community makes more sense to have a smaller system, if that makes any sense. I don't know if it does or not, but that's the way I feel. So, but anyways, thanks for hearing my rambling. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Let me know either by private emails if you're talking to me, emails, or over on the forums. And sorry to be rambling on like that, but that's kind of how I feel in regards to Run8, and I'm more open to that. But down the road, I'm hoping, if we can't solve those potential issues down the road, and we don't have AI dispatching, and we don't have AI switching to accommodate these bigger systems, then perhaps I will look at programming in the fall. And I've said that last fall, and it didn't happen because a lot of things started happening. So come this winter, and the move and all that other stuff. So anyways, that's it for now, guys. I appreciate it. Talk to you later.